What do Counter-Strike, Dota 2, and the Stanley Parable all have in common? They're games that wouldn't exist if it weren't for mods. Mods, for anyone unaware, are modifications of existing games. This can vary from simple mods like custom graphics or textures to complex mods, varying from gameplay adjustments to entirely new methods of gameplay. Though mods are a fun way to encourage creativity and help extend the internet lifespan of your game, they're generally looked down on by game developers, to the point that some companies will even actively suspend your account if you're caught using them. Whether it's because they're viewed as cheating, as inappropriate, or just ruining the creator's original vision, game companies have publicly spoken out against mods for years, and that's just kind of become the norm. Except when it isn't. Games like Lethal Company and Minecraft thrive on mods, and games like MeSide have even had mods become official content. But one company has stood out loud and proud in its stance that may surprise you, and that company is ShiftUp. And if you follow my streams, you may be familiar with ShiftUp as the company that creates my main stream game. That is a victory, Nikkei! And speaking of Nikkei, at PlayAsia, we have tons of Nikkei merch and regularly add more. So if you want to treat yourself to some Nikkei merch while also supporting my videos, be sure to check out the link in the description. But right now, we're talking about Stellar Blade. ShiftUp is a gaming company known for games like Goddess Victory Nikkei and Destiny Child, and most recently, Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade is a third-person action-adventure game which, like Nikkei, is most known for its assets, to the point that its assets went viral and nearly broke the internet, angering game journalists and tons of other people who probably had no interest in ever actually playing the game anyway and just wanted something on the internet to scream about. And that screaming has escalated immensely in the past few weeks, with the PC release of Stellar Blade launching a flurry of mods into the public eye. And oh boy, the mods that have been thrust upon our eyes, whether we want to see them or not. And why have there been so many mods, and why are they so high profile? Simple. Because unlike most companies, ShiftUp doesn't just permit mods, but heavily encourages them. In fact, before the launch of the PC version, the CEO of ShiftUp himself talked publicly about how excited he was to try out the mods, looking forward to the competition of who could make Eve more attractive, which most have determined means just make her flat out naked. However, as notorious as some of these mods may be, they actually aren't the CEO's main interest. He actually mentioned he was disappointed at the state of the mods in the community, and feels the full potential of mods has yet to be unleashed because everyone was so heavily focused on cosmetics when he wants to try gameplay-related mods that put a fresh spin on the game. In his exact words, as posted by ShiftUp World, the firepower of the modders is still weak. It's a bit lacking. Up until now, I think the official content is still better. We're looking forward to seeing mods that could slightly change the way the game is enjoyed. Of course, mods like new outfits or monster visuals would also be great, but we would be especially excited to see mods that expand the player's overall gameplay experience. And there have been a few such mods popping up. One of such mods is a VR mod that lets you exist in the universe up close and personal with Eve, which I'm absolutely sure people are using in combination with certain other mods. But hey, that's the point of a game, right? Just have fun and play in your own style. And if the CEO's encouraging it, all power to you. Sure, that resulted in, well, a huge percentage of the mods being basically just an entire field of corn and a questionable amount of pregnant Eve mods. But hey, if that's what people want, the community is providing. In fact, they're providing so hard that you can even modify the main menu into hardcore smut if that's your thing. And heck, the CEO supports all of it. As he stated, the game's already rated M, so if only adults are playing it, what's the harm in allowing them to enjoy whatever related adult content they choose? R34 get an R34, so might as well embrace it, right? The internet has been incredibly vocal with the flood of mods, either screaming in support of the mods or screaming that the mods are a disgrace. But either way, the screaming has done nothing other than propel the game further into stardom. The situation has escalated to the point that it's been deemed Gooner Game of the Year by one game journalist. Sure, it may be Gooner Game of the Year, but the Gooners are winning, and ShiftUp's laughing itself to the bank, so at the end of the day, do you really think ShiftUp is gonna be ashamed? Plus, if you think a company whose games became famous for featuring characters sporting entire jiggling bakeries is going to be offended by garnering such reputation, you clearly don't understand its main player base in the first place. Not every mod needs to add long-term value or be something you bring up at the family dinner table. Sometimes you just want a good mod to enjoy in the privacy of your own company for funsies and for whatever reason. And if it's your time and money, really, it's no one's business to stop you, unless you're trying to make money by selling it, in which, could cause legal issues. In a world where it feels like every single thing you say and do matters, heck, Sometimes just having something stupid, dirty, and fun to play may be just what you need to temporarily throw away reality and just have some good old-fashioned harmless fun. And it's nice to see a CEO that's allowing people to share their mods out in the open instead of forcing modders to hide their crimes in their deepest hidden screenshots folder. And the reason for his stance can be summarized by one important belief. The CEO of ShiftUp believes that once you buy a game, you should own it, and own the rights to do with it what you will. This is in stark contrast to other companies that stated that gamers should get comfortable not owning their games and emphasizing that digital copies are just owning a license to play. The main difference in this case being that owning would grant you the rights to modify the game as you see fit, as the game files that you own belong to you, and you should be allowed to modify your own copy as you see fit. This is in stark contrast to owning a license. If you break any terms of the license, the game can be revoked. And gamers have been enthusiastically throwing support at the company, making it the top-selling PlayStation game ever published on Steam, which is pretty crazy for a game that wasn't even available on PC at launch and has been out over a year. And it's something that'll help keep the game alive over time. It allows content creators covering the game to stand out, and maybe will even lead to some mods that'll bring the game back from the relevancy grave when its popularity starts waning if mods can throw a fresh spin on things and bring it back to life. It's exciting! It adds a similar level of excitement and engagement to the community as if the game were live service receiving frequent updates, without taking time or resources away from the game devs so they can focus on making their next game instead of putting all their efforts into bleeding a game dry until it stops making profit, which is a huge problem that we've seen happen time and time again, where companies bleed us dry with overpriced DLC or switch to releasing live service games. This way, companies can focus on releasing limited single-player experiences and rely on the community to keep the game alive in the interim. Sure, it may be a risk, because popular mods can overtake official content in terms of trending on social media and create an inaccurate representation of the game to newcomers, and people may be turned away by the more adult content or poor quality mods without realizing they're unofficial. But the risks are drastically outweighed by all the free exposure and free optional content the devs are getting. And with Stellar Blade, it worked! The game is now sold over 3 million copies, and Steam player concurrence has peaked at almost 200,000. It's been trending on and off Twitter since its PC launch. Whether it's good or bad, people are talking. And when there's so much competition to grab everyone's attention, that's a huge deal. This isn't a one-off example either. Look at games like Skyrim, Minecraft, games largely still relevant today because of community content. So it's nice to see such a high-profile and highly polished game take a similar approach, and I would love to see this become a trend that continues. Whether you're into some spicy mods or just want some new gameplay after finishing the game, mods are a way for the community to breathe fresh life into a game that they love, and being embraced by game devs is refreshing and exciting. I do hope this becomes a trend, and we'll see even more games allow such things. I understand that this is more complicated with multiplayer games, particularly competitive multiplayer games, as modifying gameplay in any way can lead to cheating. But for just cosmetic reasons, or for single-player games where it really doesn't matter, I hope this becomes the norm. How do you feel about mods? Think that taboo should become the norm? Have any good or bad experience with mods? Agree with devs being more protective over their IPs? Let me know in the comments.